Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations. Much love and respect to you, Akim, out there pushing this word out in truth and sincerity. This is your brother Chai Napash coming at you with another lesson. This lesson is going to be entitled Deforestation Causes Global Warming. So, when Esau speaks about global warming, sometimes we might look at it like, oh, this is false, which he is using it to push his agenda. But there is truth to what is being said. Okay, there is truth to what's being said because the earth is heating up. It is hotter than what it used to be. Going back to like the 1800s, it's a lot hotter than it used to be. And that's not good. It's likened unto the earth having a fever. So the earth literally has a fever right now because of Esau Edom's rulership. Okay, because what he's doing is he's destroying the natural order of things, man. He's destroying the natural order of things. All right, by cutting down these trees at an excessive rate. And that's why the scriptures, and I'll get that first, Isaiah 14, it speaks about that. Okay, it speaks about the fellers, which it's also representing humans, but it's also representing the trees itself. This is Isaiah 14 and verse 3. It says, "And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve. That thou should take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how has the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased." And Esau doesn't just oppress people. He oppresses creation. He oppresses life. Yahweh hath broken this. Well, look at them, the experiments they do with these animals, right? It says, Yahweh hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. And that literally also includes the planet Earth. The planet Earth is literally going to be able to rest when this devil is taken out because he's actually destroying the planet Earth. Okay? One of the major ways he's doing that is through his deforestation. Okay? They break forth into singing. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. The trees are literally mourning right now. It's not a joke. It's not, the trees are literally in a state of mourning right now. They're not in their natural, they can feel that they're being destroyed. Okay, and the earth can feel like it's being destroyed. So Esau has to go. And it tells you that in Revelations 11 and 18 that the Lord is going to take this devil out for what he has done to the earth. This is Revelations 11 and 18. It says, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. Okay, and that represents you Edomites, okay, you so-called white people. You're the ones that are in power. Okay, you're the ones that are responsible for this destruction that has happened to the planet. Okay, so let's read this. This is a question I asked chat. It says, how does the cutting down of trees heat up the earth? Cutting down trees, especially on a large scale, like deforestation, heats up the earth in several interconnected ways. 1, less carbon absorption. Trees absorb carbon dioxide, which we know, a major greenhouse gas from the atmosphere during photosynthesis. When trees are cut down, the CO2 is no longer absorbed, and if the wood is burned or left to rot, it releases stored CO2 back into the atmosphere. More CO2 equals more heat trapped in the Earth's atmosphere, and they call that the greenhouse effect. 2, loss of shade and cooling. And Esau's trying to make it seem like it's humans and life is the problem. No, the problem is your deforestation. That is the problem. The problem is not life and humans and cows, okay, that's emitting carbon naturally, which they're supposed to do, which actually helps the trees. You're supposed to keep the trees here. You're not supposed to be destroying the trees and creating a concrete cities. That's not natural. It's not natural to come outside and not see a whole bunch of trees and just see a bunch of cement and highways. That's not a natural way of living. And it's not healthy to the spirit. It's not healthy to the body. You can tell the difference. I can tell the difference when I go to a place with a whole bunch of tall trees. The air is fresher. You breathe better than some place that has no trees. There's a difference. There's a particular vibe. There's a feeling. There's a cooling effect. Okay, it says trees provide natural shade and cool the air through a process called evapotranspiration. They release water vapor into the air. So trees naturally release water vapor into the air, right? Which cools down the place where the trees are. You can feel that if you're really paying attention and you're around a place with a lot of tall trees. It says when forests are removed, local temperatures rise because that cooling process is gone. Okay. It says albedo change, surface reflectivity. Forests have a lower albedo, meaning they absorb more sunlight rather than reflected. When forests are replaced by lighter colored surfaces like dry soil or crops, some energy is reflected. Okay, or like concrete, right? That's a gray color, right? Or sometimes it's black. All right. It says, but not enough to offset the heating from CO2 and well, it's black when you first put it down. After it turns gray, rather I should say. Some energy is reflected, but not enough to offset the heating from CO2 and water loss. Plus, urban development after deforestation often introduces heat absorbing surfaces like asphalt and buildings. Right. So yeah, because the dark colors, it absorbs the heat in a sense, but but like I said, later on it turns gray. So all these things are negative. All these things are negative to the earth, and it's negative to us. It says often accompanied by fires. Deforestation is often done using slash and burn, right, methods, which release large amounts of CO2 and black carbon soot into the air. Black carbon settles on ice and snow, making them melt faster, and which also contributes to global warming. Deforestation increases greenhouse gases, reduces Earth's natural cooling mechanisms, disrupts rainfall and wind patterns. So it also affects what the weather. Okay, the Earth is literally fighting back also. So some things are Esau, but some things are literally the Most High has the Earth fighting back because it's sick. It says, yes, in a way, the Earth does have a fever. Right, because I asked if the Earth has a fever. It says, yes, in a way, the Earth does have a fever. This is a metaphor scientists often use, and I read that in a book that the Earth has a fever, and I said, that's interesting. It says this is a metaphor scientists often use to help people understand global warming and climate change. Just like a fever in the human body signals that something is wrong, the Earth's rising temperature signals that something is out of balance, and that's a fact. Okay, so you have all these different things. Okay, all these different things that's happening because of this global warming. You got they always speak about the ice melting in Antarctica and different places. Well, that's destroying the climate for those animals, those creatures that the Heavenly Father placed in those areas. You know, polar bears and different animals. It's destroying their habitat because of Esau's madness. And there's actually a scripture in the Bible that speaks about not cutting down certain trees. Okay, let me matter of fact, let's ask chat real quick. Does the Bible prohibit the cutting down of certain trees, and if so, which ones? Because there's certain trees you're not supposed to cut down, period. Yes, the Bible does speak about cutting down trees, and in some cases it prohibits or warns against cutting certain trees, especially in times of war or when the trees are considered useful or sacred. Key biblical references: Deuteronomy 20 and 19, Deuteronomy 20, 19 to 20, or 19 and 20 rather. When you lay siege to a city for a long time, do not destroy its trees by putting an axe to them, because you can eat their fruit. Do not cut them down. Are the trees of the field people that you should besiege them? Right. So when you take over a city, you're not supposed to cut down the trees like Esau does. You know, especially the trees bearing fruit. It says, meaning fruit trees, Salakia, must not be cut down during wartime because they provide food and are not a part of conflict. Verse 20 then allows for cutting down non-fruit bearing trees, so to build siege works. Okay, why this matters in the biblical law. But there's also another one that I believe speaks about a specific type of tree you're not supposed to cut at all. But I think it was not just a fruit tree. It says while not outright laws, other verses give clues that cutting trees for idol worship and greed was frowned upon. It talks about a man cutting down a tree, using part for firewood and the rest to make an idol, and mocks the foolishness of it. This criticized the using for idolatry. Adam is placed in the garden to work it and take care of it, suggesting stewardship. Okay, the Bible does prohibit cutting down fruit trees without necessity or in a wasteful manner. Well, Esau, he cuts down trees in a very wasteful manner. But I think this might be missing a verse, if I'm not mistaken. If a brother knows, he can put it in the comment section. But I believe there's another one that speaks about a specific type of trees that you're not supposed to cut down, besides outside of fruit trees. But anyways, we know that deforestation, that's a wicked practice. That's why it says what it says in Isaiah the 14th chapter about no fella has come up against us, because before that they were, it was ridiculous, what was going on. Okay. So anyways, so Esau, he got to go, man. The earth is mourning literally under Esau's rulership, man, and it's becoming weaker through the wickedness of Esau. This is Isaiah 24 and verse 4. It says, the earth mourneth and fadeth away. So because the earth has a spirit in it. All right. The earth has a spirit. The trees have spirits. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish, meaning the earth is languishing, meaning it's in a weak state because Esau is destroying it. He's sucking the blood, which is the oil, and then he's cutting down all these trees, and then he's polluting the air with more carbon dioxide, man. So this man is definitely the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan. It says the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. He's the only nation to do this, to go this deep and to go this hard in destruction. Well, that would fit him. That's why he fits Habakkuk, the second chapter. This is Habakkuk 2 in verse 1. It says, matter of fact, I'll start at verse 4. It says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith, by his faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. Esau cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. So this man can't be satisfied. He's going to keep going and going and going until he destroys everything. That's why the Lord said that unless those days should be shortened, there shall be no flesh left to be saved. And I just want to put that little fact out. So Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect, and I'll say shalom.